Let's be honest, even with all the new cool stuff that's coming out, like the refresh for the Ryzen 7 with the 9850X 3D and the refresh for the Intel Core Ultra CPUs, which I'm very excited about, PC market currently is not the best. And it is actually so bad that the mid-range gaming PC segment is basically disappearing, because what you could build just a few months ago for maybe $1,000, $1,500, nowadays is closer to $2,000, and that's out of budget for a lot of people, especially guys starting out and that are a little bit younger. So I think it's my duty as a gaming PC content creator to tell you guys what I'd build nowadays. And it may look something like this. Now, the template I'm using here today you can copy easily, but I'm also using something which is the best price-wise if you're based in Europe, and that is Xilence components. Now, this brand I have been working with a lot, and I requested those components for today's build because I think they're very good and they are very, very cheap. They're not paying me to say it, by the way. I requested them. And that's especially important because if your RAM is very expensive and if your GPUs are very expensive and you still have to make mid-range, you have to save money where you can without compromising on quality. Because the problem I also see is since RAM, GPUs, they're so expensive, people have a certain budget, they just start buying bad components, and that's not something you want to do. So here's how I do a mid-range gaming PC nowadays. Now, as much as I like Intel, and we could very well do an alternative of this build with an Intel CPU, I think currently on this segment, Ryzen, in terms of value for money, is still winning a little bit, especially with regular, I want to say, tuning. If you really like overclocking, yes, Intel can edge Ryzen out for sure. But if you're just the average person, I think this is going to be the best compromise for you. And that's why I went with a Ryzen 7 9700X as the base of this computer. Now, I got a cheap micro ATX motherboard, even though the case is a full-size ATX, to save money. It doesn't look the prettiest, but I also think since I got a white motherboard, it somehow looks decent. But let me know what you think. I think this may be the biggest critique in today's build. And I went with an MSI motherboard just because today it was the cheapest one I could find. But for motherboards, as you know, my favorite ones are the ones from AliExpress because I think they're very cheap and they're good value. There are also just great offers from all the brands. Just buy whatever one is better value currently because they change all the time. So don't buy an MSI specifically. Get a Gigabyte, get an Asus one, get whatever is the best value for money currently. On the cheap side, you don't need an expensive motherboard. Then we need to sort out the storage situation. Now, one of the few brands which I'm able to buy, at least in Europe, is Patriot Viper. And since I've been using their stuff for a while, I can tell you it's very good RAM. So yes, currently the prices are high, but at least you're buying something that's very good quality. And what I have here today is a kit of Patriot Viper Elite 5 Ultra, 32 gigabytes at 6000 MHz. They're perfect for Ryzen, make for some very good tuning as well, and also look very good. So that's what I got in black to match the build with some RGB to make it pop. Now I want to cover which GPU I picked before going into the rest of the build because I think that was the hardest choice to make. So what I have here today, I'm not actually recommending you guys get, it's just what you may be obligated to get. And that is an RTX 5060 Ti Ventus 2X, very average, 8 GB model because the 60 GB model is severely overpriced. Now, if you guys can, or if you guys want to buy something else, I think currently, even though the drivers are not the best, the Intel Arc GPUs, especially on the used market, they may be worth a shot, but AMD generally is slightly better value still, so I would probably get an RX 9060 XT instead. However, NVIDIA also has its benefits, and I can see why you would get this one. If you also want to resell your PC at a later date, a lot of people still prefer NVIDIA. If you're into the used market though, I think currently some very cheap 3000 series GPUs are there. I'm talking high-end ones like an RTX 3080 Ti or a 3080, and those can be a great buy. But a lot of them kind of have lived enough of their life already, so you don't want to make a mistake buying them, you know? So I would say 3000 series GPUs, sure, only if you can buy good models, avoid Zotac on a 3000 series, and try to buy them from someone reputable, and make sure if you buy one that you're prepared to do a repaste and repad and to clean the poor GPU, because it has been out for about 6 years at this point, and that's a long time for a graphics card. Now, storage. Storage currently, even though it's not as inflated in pricing as RAM, I think is the component which I see doing the worst in the future. So today I managed to get this very average Crucial P310 drive, but it was just luck because Crucial is not even selling drives anymore. So I can't really recommend you guys to go out and buy that. So buy whatever drive you can find. What you need is an NVMe drive, at least Gen 3, about 3000 megabytes per second in 2026 for sure. 7000 is ideal, but you don't really have to. Recently I covered some Kingston drives, which I had for good pricing at Gen 5, but that's something that if you're only gaming, you probably don't need. If you can find the good old Kingston MV3 for a good price, it's definitely recommended, but those have been going up so much in price recently, they're hard to get. And with that said, I want to now cover what makes this build cool and also what you need to replicate to get a good mid-range gaming PC. And that is, again, those Xilence components I picked. And now I want to start from the power supply because I think since we just talked about the GPU, that's interesting. So this Xilence PSU over here, okay, which has a very long name, the XP750R12, is a non-ATX 3.1, non-ATX 3.0, non-modular power supply, which is 80 plus gold certified. And also that has a very, very boring packaging. So by saving money on the modularity, on the certifications, and on the packaging, you get a very good 750 watt 80 plus gold PSU, which, by the way, because there's always one guy telling me that those products are bad, I've had this PSU, like the previous refresh model, since 2 years ago, running a 3090, and the video is still on the channel where I tried it the first time, and you guys were telling me, I understand, but you were telling me it's going to be so bad for a 3090, and it's still running perfectly fine, and that's definitely a little bit overdoing it in terms of capacity for 750 watts, okay? So if you're pairing this with any modern GPU all the way to a 5070, 5070 Ti, zero problems there. However, since it's non-ATX 3.1, if you do go with a 5070, 5070 Ti, you're gonna have to use the adapter, which is no problem. But I think this PSU is the best buy if you're getting a used GPU without the ATX 3.1 connector, or if you're going AMD, or if you're going like us today, with a 5060 Ti. It's a very good choice. It's going to save you a chunk of money without compromising on performance and reliability. Next component, very important one, is this all-in-one water cooler. Now, the all-in-one water cooler market is very competitive, but this LQ360 Pro RGB from Xilence is very good. First of all, you can install it in literally just a few seconds because you just have to slot in the brackets for the M5 socket in this case and then use 2 screws and you're done. But more importantly, the performance is there. Now, Xilence always goes for this very clean look, not very gamer-ish kind of, so I can see why you would prefer an all-in-one water cooler with a massive screen on it. But the thing is, if you're after performance, you better save the money from the screen and spend it on RAM or GPU or storage, because nowadays you kind of have to. It's a bigger flex to have higher FPS than to have a cool screen in your PC. Trust me, and it's coming from a guy with quite a few screens in his computer. Now, the important thing about getting a good all-in-one water cooler is that you're going to be able to overclock and undervolt for performance your hardware a lot more, which means directly more FPS. Now, if you're watching ImWateringPSUs, if you're watching this channel, you absolutely should tweak your hardware if you guys like it, of course. So you should do some RAM overclocking, some CPU undervolting, which sometimes is right there on the edge of overclocking depending on how you do it, and also some GPU undervolting. You can get all the way up to about 30, even 40% more performance by overclocking a system properly. And this thing is no exception. Ryzen 9000 is very good if you tune it. And a good all-in-one allows you to do that. Now, the case which I've picked here today is the Xilence Silent Breeze 2, name code X812. And it's a full-size ATX case, which is pretty compact. Now, so compact that you can't put a 360 on top, you have to put it on front, so you have to swap it. But you can still put a 280 on top, no problem, and a 240, of course, if you want to do it the easier route. Now, this is a very good case because it's cheap. It is so cheap, guys, but it's still premium. The material is nice, the cable management is easy, you close it off well, it's mesh on the front, it looks cool. Yes, it's not an aquarium case, but it has better airflow than 90% of cheap aquarium cases. And the RGB on the fans actually looks very good. It also has great compatibility for GPU size, but also for SATA, SSDs, and even for hard disks. Now, you may never use that, but in a period of storage shortage, that may come in handy. Now, I will briefly show you a few benchmarks showing you the temperatures, because this build built like this not only goes fast, but also runs very cool. So as you can see, running Firestrike, the thing was absolutely cold, and even while doing more demanding tasks like playing Apex Legends and reaching 300 FPS at 1080p competitive settings, temperature was basically the same. So a PC like this is gonna serve you well, and even though you may not be getting as good pricing as you were a few months ago, if you buy it right, it's still a good deal and still worth buying. As usual though, I want to hear what you guys think, what you would have changed. Is it really that ugly motherboard? Let me know down below. And if you watched the video this far, drop a like and subscribe to support the channel. You may also want to become a member, and see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.